its undying wish for union with Greece. Locomotives 11 and 12 were also used to pull a full load of assembled coaches known as the bathing specials, which ran every Sunday. These excursion trains were started in an effort to entice more passengers. One of these, a much watered-down copy of the famous French Côte d'Azur, actually carried the name on the side of the first second-class coaches. At a shilling, or 5 cents, for the return trip on a Sunday, with ubiquitous gharries to transport the trippers to and from the beach, these excursion trains were a great success for many years. Special trains were also put on for the annual Orange Festival in Famagusta, when long trains ran from Nicosia to Famagusta with the sides of the coaches decorated with oranges and a large plaque of an orange fastened onto the front of the smoke box door of the locomotive. In 1937, reconstruction begins on the old road between Nicosia and Famagusta. This, along with the accumulating financial problems that the Cyprus Railway faced, resulting from ever-decreasing freight and passenger numbers, began to threaten its existence. During the Second World War and post-war years, from about 1940 to 1949, the Cyprus Railway played a significant role as a prime mover of troops, stores and munitions from the Famagusta harbour to the Royal Air Force airfield at Nicosia, today the site of the Nicosia Airport. This contribution to the war effort temporarily saved the railway, but left a backlog of repairs and renewals which were no longer economically justified. Road transport, however, had arrived to stay. Inexorably, roads and bridges would improve, and it would consolidate its position. For the railway, the writing was on the wall. It would grind on, making its waning contribution to the expanding economy of the island, at the same time contributing to its own downfall by the movement of construction material for its adversary. Much discussion and many studies were made over the years in an attempt to find a viable solution for the continued existence of the railway, but in the end, the matter had to be faced. On November 10, 1951, the British government issued an official notice stating that with the approval of the Secretary of State for the Colonies, the Cyprus Railway will be closed at the end of the year.
The government has come to the conclusion that there will be no difficulty in carrying by road the passengers and goods formerly carried by the railway, and that the cost to the public will, in the long run, be less.
The inevitable happened. The superintendent of the railway promptly announced that no further goods would be accepted at Famagusta harbour after the 30th of November for the run to Nicosia, and commenced preparations for the lifting of the track. The last train was scheduled to leave Nicosia station at 2:55 p.m. on Monday, 31st December 1951, with locomotive 12, which had hauled the first train all those years ago, on the 21st of October 1905. It drew into Famagusta at about 4 o'clock to be greeted by some 100 invited guests, officials, and employees. With the formalities over, dismantling gathered momentum as the track work was rolled up through Nicosia and on towards Famagusta, the locomotives hauling demolition trains and transporting rail back to the yards. Between March 14th and April 2nd, 1953, the final train, loaded with railway material, left Famagusta station bound for the harbour and the steamship Mar Corusco, which was to carry the remnants of the Cyprus Railway to Italy. The end had really come. Nothing now remained but the gaunt and deserted buildings awaiting distribution among local buyers and government departments, and across the island, a long ribbon of land punctuated by the indentations of the track, sleepers, and stone bridge abutments that would remain visible as a reminder for many more years to come, until the old line of the Cyprus Government Railway faded from memory. Today, to follow the course of the line is a fascinating expedition. In the 1960s, much of the new Famagusta-Nicosia road was built on the route of the abandoned Famagusta-Nicosia railway track. Almost certainly, a good proportion of what remained of the old railway was destroyed during the Turkish invasion in 1974, especially in and around Famagusta, where several buildings had been transferred to the police department and lay in the path of the Turkish advance into Varosha. With some difficulty, it's still possible to follow most of the line from Famagusta right up to Evrihu. In Nicosia, in 1995, a station was replicated at Kaymakli, where a short section of the track was relayed and the restored guards, van 152, was placed until recently. The story of the Cyprus Railway ends fittingly almost where it began, with locomotive number 1 itself. In 1971, Colonel Barry Turner undertook the restoration of the old steamer which, by some miracle, had been left behind. On June 5, 1972, a gleaming, fully restored Loco 1 was hauled out and placed on a pedestal outside what was once the Famagusta station. Number 1 still stands. A little dirtier once more, but one hopes not too affected by the events that have taken place. Perhaps one day the story of the Cyprus Government Railway may be firmly reinstated in the history of the Republic of Cyprus for all future generations to behold.